Shadowverse.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and one of the more recent videos we have here on Shadowversity is testing the reverse grip in real life to really give it every benefit of the doubt, see how viable it is, and we come to some very, very strong conclusions. But were we right in every assumption? Well, it turns out that one of our viewers made a response video sharing a different perspective for the use of reverse grip in an area we didn't actually get to cover in our video. It's a great video that they made, and we were able to react and respond and discuss it in one of our dedicated live streams. If you missed out, you can get access to the full uncut live streams if you're one of our supporters. So that's on Player, Subscribe Star, channel memberships, or Patreon. We're able to post the unlisted links so you don't miss out, but also able to make these fun supercuts of those live streams because it's just such fun, interesting content and discussions, and we love to share it with you as well. So, were we wrong? Let's go and find out. This is a reply video.
Ironclad Duke. Shout out to Ironclad Duke for this.
Ironclad Duke.
Howdy, Internet. Today we're talking about reverse grip sword fighting in a Boohurt context. This is a reply.
So yes, it's Boohurt. Is that Boohurt or Boohurt? I have no idea.
It's a good question. I say Boohurt because it has the word hurt in it.
The Shadowversity's video. So notice they had a lot of good fantasy, foam fighting, and HEMA input, but I thought we might could add a little bit with it coming from a Boohurt perspective. Most of the video pretty much agreed with. There was only one weird comment.
All right. Who do you think said the weird comment?
I don't know. Maybe me.
Hold on.
I think this is where we all get self-conscious. Shad's like, oh, it was definitely me. Tyrant's like, no, it was definitely one of you two.
I don't know. I'm trying to even remember what we...
Yeah. All right, so this is going to be the clip of showing the power of regular or reverse. We'll see. I grab.
So in to give a quick bit of context here for those who don't know Boohurt, it is in team fights like this. The idea is that one of the ideas is you get your opponents down because you can't stab, you can't hit on the feet, but they can go down if you put enough pressure into them, or they can just buckle under the amount of hits that they're getting. So one person will help pin against the list. This piece of wood here is called the list. One person will help pin against the list, and the other will usually go and grab the biggest, nastiest weapon they have and slam it into their opponent until they buckle.
It is hardcore stuff. The amount of power and weight they throw into some of these strikes.
Yes.
I
have some stories for another time, but I have some stories.
You've done it?
No, but I have friends who have. Boohurt is a little beyond me.
All right, so I'm trying to see where they hit that they're trying to show. Was that it?
Yeah,
wow.
So that's Dylan hitting what looks like a pinned opponent.
And that's a smack right to the head.
Yeah.
Gosh.
As hard as he can.
Gosh. And then
down to get the person out.
Reverse grip, sure, it doesn't hit as hard. There's some application to that Dylan would know more about than me.
From memory, it's really interesting the style of reverse grip that they show. And we'll get to see as we go through, because it seems that they're showing more kind of individual applications where reverse grip is useful, and then a kind of warding use of it as well. It's
pretty much the only person in Boohurt that I've seen reverse grip a sword effectively, consistently. Anybody?
So the other part that I like about this, because one of the things we said in the video, if you like it and it works for you, do it.
Dylan actually does it successfully pretty regularly. The main thing it's good for is grappling, and it takes less effort to just stick it out and defend me more fully.
This is a very good point, because we were talking about the biomechanics of reverse grip in our video, and one of the problems of it, when you're in standard stance combat and stuff like that, was it's pointing down, and a lot of the strikes you want to do for the head, and therefore it's just positioning is more awkward, and having the guard underneath your hand, exposing your hand and things like that. But if you wanted to ward and block someone's entire body, right, having the conventional grip means most of the sword is actually not covering, the other person's body.
But I think Taurus, can you pass me that dagger that's on the set? With this one, I think that. Oh, thank you. What they're talking about, unless I've misunderstood here, is the gentleman with the. I was going to say the gentleman with the beard. It's Boohurt. They all have beards. The gentleman with the beanie was talking about sort of leveraging and made sort of a yanking motion. And I remember when we were discussing it, saying, you feel like from here you have a lot of point moving forward, but you feel like you have a lot of pulling power naturally, like just biomechanically you have a lot of pulling power. So I can sort of see that if you're trying to pull someone down to the ground or you're trying to lever them in a really uncomfortable position, you can get a lot of leverage and a lot of points, with the reverse grip there. So I can kind of make sense of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There seems to be valid points where there are times when it's useful. And in terms of blocking someone else's entire torso, holding it continually in a reverse grip, I can see validity to that, because you just hold it out and you're blocking the entire person's body, where if it was conventional grip, you're only blocking their head.
So, as you were saying earlier, the traditional orthodox grip, it's much harder to actually defend your...
Okay, because he shows you have to angle the sword all the way down to try and block, the lower body.
As I would say, battle buddy or wingman, whatever you want to sit there and call yourself.
The grip on this is...
Oh, yeah, that's a two-handed.
Yeah, so you can actually move up here and all of a sudden you've got way more power. So that is... Which is I don't know if we mentioned it in the video, that when we were talking about it, we weren't looking particularly through a historical lens. We were looking more, like you said, through a biomechanical lens. But I don't know if we mentioned that I think if you were to do reverse grip as your predominant style, you would have custom equipment, like custom swords, to accommodate your style.
Maybe, because the problem with reverse gripping a conventional sword is that the crossguard is underneath your hand.
Yeah,
exactly.
Into the back. Like a forward-facing crossguard is fine, but a backwards-facing crossguard when it's undergripped is not. So I can kind of see that. Having something like, a glaive or a falchion or a Majalski Bible cleaver.
Or something like what he has that doesn't have a crossguard at all.
But again, then it gets really awkward when you end up doing cross guards and everything that's actually more putting you in a bad position.
Yeah, and
and
is saying the crossguard position, because to do that, that's to angle the sword down and cover the opponent's body. And that is a weaker position to angle the sword down like that.
It is. And in team fights, not that I've done this with Boohurt, like I said, I haven't done Boohurt, but in team fights, you cover your bodies as much as you can, the people directly to your left and right. And you do put yourself in weaker positions if you don't do it correctly. So I can understand that.
Yeah, you have your whole armpit gap exposed.
Yes, very much. So...
If you didn't, the guy just mentioned that also exposes your armpit.
Yeah,
like you do not want that.
No, so
how hard they hit. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like I've seen armor malfunctions, and I know some people who have actually represented Australia who have had armor malfunctions. One of the quick stories on the full plates of armor, and this was across a face plate, and that was on the seal plate. So on the unarmored or lower armored areas of like chain and padding, you don't want someone to be like, oh, look, floating ribs. Let's go for those.
Doing reverse grip is actually a whole lot easier to not only defend myself, but defend my battle buddy here.
So I understand clearly what it's saying here. I completely agree. This is actually a really great point to bring up. So I love this type of discussion reply videos that the community does.
It won't be able to stop a strike completely, but it stops it enough for it to where it doesn't bother this man at all.
It stops it enough to where your armor handles it without denting. Because if you take a direct hit from a big hit, your armor, good chance it's going to dent. But if you take away just some of that impact, now your armor handles it fine. So, yeah.
Another thing that I really like talking about is the application of reverse grip and grappling. When you're sitting there and trying to grapple with an opponent or face an opponent.
So a lot of what he's also saying is the reverse grip he's using is very beneficial because of the type of sword. And to demonstrate this better, I think I'm just going to grab one of the LARP ones. So I'll be back.
We seem to be just doing it. I feel like every time we try and get ready for streams, we get everything planned out, but then Chad is an agent of chaos.
Yes, he is.
So his blade is a bit shorter, but his handle is much, much longer. Okay, and so when he holds it out, he's actually able to cover more of the upper body, and he doesn't need to raise it higher to balance that out. Now, in utilization of grappling, if you have a larger handle to be able to grab on each end like that, I can absolutely see that there's more application and utility in grappling with something with a longer handle.
Yeah, and I think as well that once he gets that blade around behind someone's head, being able to reach over and grab that blade and pull would be another thing, because you're in Boohurt, you are trying to get people to the ground.
Blade out here, which is a really big problem involving trying to get around here. Like, I'm going to get around him here. That's an issue. That's too much of a struggle. So if you're here in reverse grip, regardless on whatever you have in your hand, involving whatever hand placement you want, when you're getting into grapples, it's far more easier to direct yourself.
So I see what it's saying here is that to close the distance, if you have a longer sword, that can get in the way in closing the distance. Because if I go like this, suddenly there's too much sword in front of Nate for me to be able to bring down to this side of him because the sword is now covering. But if it was much shorter and I get in close, I can withdraw it a lot easier and just hook it around. And that's what it's doing here, is showing that.
No matter which way I'm coming in from with being reverse grip. Not only that, if people want to sit there and say, oh, well, how are you going to strike from this position? It's not hard to do that, guys. Come on now. It's really not hard to actually just come up and swing, guys. It's from here, up, swing.
And he is demonstrating, though, in terms of power generation, he is opting to switch to the conventional grip.
Yeah, which he very well could just, turn the hand over and swing as well. Like, he's got options there.
I just got a comment, Brigandines. I love that. There's so much great Brigandine representation in Boohurt. I love it.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, go.
What's that now? It's free shot.
Yeah, so it's just deflecting enough.
And they grapple, they're both grappling. Okay. He's leveraging it, both hands behind the grip. That's cool.
So these are just like little love taps, really.
Yeah, but still taking that hit, not in armor.
Yeah. No, that's broken faces. That's what that is.
So something to mention is what's his name? Dylan, I think. Dylan.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Dylan's a big dude. How big is him? Ironclad dude. You're in the chat, right? How big is this guy, man? He's a big dude.
He looks 6 foot.
Yeah.
Plus, I'd say.
Plus, yeah.
That helmet on the guy on his knee, that is gorgeous. That is a gorgeous helmet.
He's got a great helm face, bassinet sugarloaf. I can't see from that angle.
Yeah. So, visored bassinet by the look of it, but I just love the look of that visor. That is, it's a bit Griffin,
but it's also a bit sort of, great helm. Cool.
Oh, sorry, that is a sexy helmet.
It is.
Where did you get that? I'm like, that's like our nice watch helmet, but
similar,
but hardcore. I want that helmet, man. I really like it.
There you go.
Okay. So I do like the rule structure is focus on getting them down and not just absolutely clobbering them into unconsciousness. But you do see
what
that.
the rules say to do and how you do it can be two completely different things.
This is true. But because the primary goal is to knock them on their, and by the way, that's a lot of the goals of even real armored fighting, is because it's very difficult to try and leverage the weapons inside the gaps of armor, and so one of the easier ways to do it is to immobilize them, pin them, and then you can get them.
Well, that is one of the things with Boohurt, no stabs.
Yeah,
just because of the danger.
So Ironclad Duke has responded. Normally Dylan would go standard grip there and clobber, but this is a reverse grip demo, obviously. Dylan is 6'4" or 6'5".
Sheesh. Big dude. Big dude.
That's good context to mention, and I'll re-emphasize what I'm saying. So he usually fights standard grip, but finds uses for reverse grip. And so that does kind of marry into what we were saying before, that as a transitory, temporary thing, there is certain utilities that you can find with it, but for standard uses over long term, what is your standard grip?
Standardly, he's using that in a standard grip format, but when he needs to, he has that option. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something just hitting.
Sorry, the guy in red, the big guy was getting reverse strike, because the guy in red saw it, so he just withdrew. It's like, I better brace myself and get ready for this.
Yes, it's a big weapon from a big dude.
Yeah, you're going in for the grapple, just showing how it can work.
Yeah. Yeah. So not to say a pun, but cop that. All right.
That one's beautiful. I love it.
No, I can't take ownership for that pun. I was shown that pun once. Maybe literally.
By the way, no. You don't smack swords away with your hands.
Yeah, that was the only thing in the video that I thought was like really odd, was when he was like, something about if the sword comes over here, you can just palm it away.
I would want to come into this guard, and I would have gauntlets.
Okay, it depends on the type of sword of nature of the combat.
Okay, I will defend Tyrant here. Yes, you can smack swords away. However, the way Tyrant did it there, no, not necessarily, because what you're doing is sort of slapping at the edge. If a sword is swinging at you, you do not slap it away. You can slap it down. So if a sword is coming in like this, you can actually slap it down.
I think if you were wearing plate gauntlets, it wouldn't be that hard to use it a bit more leverage.
When you say
do have chain lined mittens.
no.
Really?
You will not have chain line on the inside of a glove because you'll lose grip. So butcher's chain is very, very modern. That's something that maybe potentially could be used. But if you wanted grip for something like that, you'd use something like a ray skin on the outside, like what katanas
But we weren't
use.
even talking about historical stuff throughout the entire video.
Well, no. What you
Okay,
actually
that's a good
talk
point.
from?
We were talking about how
Just general body mechanics and everything. Yeah,
and
you're right.
custom kit. That's what we're talking
Well,
about.
hang on. Because the actual point that you were making was not stopping a strike, but using it as leverage in pushing and angling and stuff.
Yeah. So grabbing or holding a stationary. I'll still back Tyrant on that. But you wouldn't want to try to stop a swing with an open hand.
Well, Tyler,
Absolutely.
he wasn't saying that though.
No, but
just in case, I don't know because I can't remember the video. But not stop. I don't think we ever mentioned stopping a swing or something with your hand. It was always once the blade's motion had been stopped and there was no force left in the blade. Because at that point, your sword is tied up in a reverse grip where you're usually weakest, especially with like long swords. What we're
So
using.
you need to.
So as soon as you can take away that blade from the equation, then you can use yours effectively.
We got a few. So the first one is said, "Hey, I'd rather take a hand hit than a body hit. I found the plate gauntlet part odd, but I'm also not super educated here. Full disclosure, he also said, Tyrant, love you, bro. Don't hate me, please, lol." I'm broken screen.
We love the back and forth.
We love this.
But
Yeah.
that was the only thing in the video that I like particularly disagreed with. Was
Well, I think it's just a misunderstanding of.
I think so. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of weird when he talked about palming away a sharp sword. Other than that, want to reiterate again that everything with this today is in an armored context. Because like if you weren't wearing gauntlets, then blocking, you'd just lose your fingers. And also, if you weren't in full armor and Dylan walked up and tried to grab you over the head, well, you could just stab him. So all of this is
and that's what we observed as well. But as soon as you add the armor into the context, it does change certain analysis of the discussion. That there's a bit more viability with certain reverse grip techniques in armored combat. Absolutely.
A lot of the issues we were finding was because you're so exposed by using reverse grip. Once you're in plate armor, it's like, well, it's still not ideal, but I mean, hey, you can
But it has its pros. Like all of the pulling motions, I think is right.
I particularly like a lot of the sort of strikes where you're basically punching, so you can get a full twist and really bring it up from the
Bring in
ground.
the core.
Yeah.
Channel.
I
the
like
core.
that, especially with a weapon that's more suited.
Yeah, it makes me want to get a weapon like that.
Anyway, thanks for watching, Dylan. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace, mate. That's great.
Really fun video there, and I love the discussions and responses that we're able to have in our community where we love swords and we get to have some back and forth, and they honestly shared a really intriguing perspective of a valid use of reverse grip. So it was great to react to, it was a great video. Thank you very much for watching, hope you've enjoyed, and of course we hope to see you on the next video here on Shadowverse. So until then...